Hello and welcome to the Reign of Books. I'm Josh and I'm joined by John. This is our weekly series on books and fiction and storytelling. This is REIGNfall, and today you're joining us for the topic on games to books. Is it worth it? We know that games to movies have a pretty horrible track record. I mean, let's not even talk about Super Mario Brothers. Not even John Leguizamo could save that train wreck. And then you have Doom, Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat. It's a long litany of bad movies, but we're not talking movies. We're talking books. So is it worth it to take a game property and make it into a book? We are subject matter experts because we've read exactly two books on video game properties, but they're two of the top video game properties in the illustrious history of that huge market where guys shoot things on screen and where you have general mayhem and madness. Plus you have Link and Mario and all that good platformer stuff. But in general, the books are all about the shooting. I mean, the games are about the shooting, and so are the books, so we've seen. So, John, you can tell us why you think books and games go together or don't go together, because we definitely have an opinion.
Well, naturally, as I'm an expert after having read two of them, yeah, it can work. Where I think it's having a tough time working is when a game, like, say, Diablo, has well-established cutscenes, well-established storyline within the game. As you have mentioned many times before, a game is its own experience. It is its own entertainment experience. It combines a lot of different elements together. So it's tough to do. I mean, why do I need a book when I could just play that game and get just as much rich storytelling out of the game as that short little book provided? A book like Halo, which is the other one that we've read, there's just a lot of shooting and there's a little bit of storyline in there. And so there, the sky's the limit as to where you can go with it. But if you take something like Diablo that's well established and you try to write a book about it and you deviate from what we know in the game, and you start kind of going off into left field and making up something else, it doesn't work at all. And we have a lot more books to read that are based on video games, but so far our sampling's kind of been 50% success rate.
You started us off at the bottom of the barrel, my friend. Diablo was something that I was fairly excited about. Why? Because it was, in the gaming world, one of these huge, complex narratives. If that's, I'm not trying to be funny. Yes, complex narrative. It's a complex experience. It's a rich experience. So the translation to a book should have been comparable. But Diablo was so incredibly bad that I finished it just so I could legitimately make fun of it and review it and warn people away from it. And I was pretty flippant with my predictions going into the end of it, saying, yeah, dude's going to get killed. Yeah, dude's going to take over. And I batted 1,000 average actually making these flippant predictions. So that was kind of funny. But the book was a bunch of people walking around in a circle and literally getting powers. And it was bad. I mean, it was horrific. It scared me away. And anyone maybe who might have started there like me, or been a fan of the games, or just wanted good books with want to know what these game universes are about, it would have ruined the experience. It basically is an embarrassment to game adaptations for books. So there's my rant and rave on Diablo. But I had to go to Halo because you talked about continuity. Halo, on the other end, is one of the most fundamentally important gaming experiences of my life. Yes, I'm a fanboy. It means that much to me. I love Master Chief, love Cortana, love the expansion of all the Spartans. So the book filled in a lot of gaps. It was actually extraordinarily rich. Plus Captain Keyes, one of the most awesome space captains out there, who can outmaneuver any submarine or any Covenant ship. It's like naval warfare, and he did a heck of a job outmaneuvering powerful opponents. So that book did an incredible job of expanding the universe, blah, blah, blah. Loved it. There were some continuity errors. Not going to gripe about that because Halo is complex, and they're trying to create some real characters out of what are essentially first-person shooter games. And so I love the translation, even though there's some flaws there.
Submarines in space.
You know what I'm trying to say.
So here's what I think. You can have a very successful video game to book adaptation if the property owners, right, the company that owns the rights to the game is very, very selective on who they have write it. I think you could even have a great Super Mario book if you get the right writer to do it. Now, the content, you think about the game, is like, whatever, he's jumping around and getting coins and saving this little princess from King Koopa. I got it. But if you get the right writer to do it and you're very careful with your property, it could actually be pretty cool. I don't see an issue with it. But generally speaking, what we see are these writers that are making a name for themselves, or you see a not a top tier writer taking that property and doing something with it, and at the end of the day, it's just kind of like a throwaway read. It amounts to nothing. So I think there are certain video games that can work with. I've been disappointed that some of the major properties out there haven't had a better treatment in books, but that's my final thought on it.
You know, there's a long list of books. We've only done a sampling of two. We'll link the Wikipedia page, and I was impressed. I mean, some of the current properties I'm a fan of, like Borderlands, maybe Mass Effect, I'm not sure. Even World of Warcraft, another big one, all have book adaptations, and we will try some of those out. But you brought up a really good point. I laughed at it right away, but Mario Brothers, a Mario Brothers book, I think as a kid, that world, that concept, you know, because it's so original, and actually the world itself, the setting. Yeah, I always thought it was a very cool place to be in. And we are at an interesting point in history, John, with you have fan communities, fan fiction, online communities with a lot of intellectual property. You can't make money off of it, but you have a lot of creative minds that are, you know, creating original stories from their favorite characters. And who's to say the next great book and great storylines that could spark the imagination don't exist already? And one other thread related to games, you know, books based on games would be great, but games themselves are actually coming to the forefront with story. There's artificial intelligence systems that can create better narratives, the interactive portion, choose your own adventure style, and you actually become emotionally connected to characters. So yeah, again, I think you're right. If the company treats the property correctly, and they actually look at them as a synergetic force, the game experience, the book force or experience, then what you have is something that people do want, and it's not just making more money. And I hope and I think that maybe that they'll kind of see it in the future that way, and we can get some more awesome first-person shooters made into books that are good, like Halo. Halo, shout out.
Might work out.
Might not. But until then, it's an uphill battle. But that's okay. That's okay. Games are awesome. People know it. But thanks for joining us on REIGNfall. This is our weekly series on book topics, all things fiction and storytelling. We'll catch you next time on the Reign of Books. Check us out, reignofbooks.com, as in the rule of books, not the weather.